Welcome to Glorious English. If you really want to learn English through emotional stories, stay with me till the end. Listen slowly, read carefully, and feel every emotion. Because every line will teach you real-life English through deep feelings. Today's story will touch your heart. It's about a kind nurse who tried to save a little boy's life and ended up healing a father's broken heart. A story of love, sacrifice, and destiny. The nurse who fell in love with her patient's father. My name is Clara. I worked as a nurse in a small city hospital. Every morning, I told myself to stay strong and never mix my heart with my work. But one rainy evening changed everything. A little boy named Leo was brought in after a terrible accident. His father ran beside the stretcher, holding Leo's tiny hand. His name was Daniel. I still remember his eyes, tired, scared, full of love. That night, I promised myself I'd save Leo, not just for the hospital, but for that desperate father's eyes. Leo's condition was serious. He had lost a lot of blood, and the doctors said he needed constant care. I stayed beside his bed almost every hour, checking his heartbeat, whispering comfort. Daniel rarely left the room. He sat in a chair, silent, holding his son's toy car. I noticed how his hands trembled, how he stared at Leo as if his whole world was lying there. He thanked me again and again, but I didn't want thanks. I just wanted that little boy to open his eyes again. Days passed, and slowly, Leo began to respond. One morning, he smiled at me weakly and whispered, "Nurse Clara." That was the first time Daniel laughed after many nights. His laughter was quiet but real. He looked at me with soft eyes, and something in my heart moved. After my shift, I'd find myself walking to Leo's room, even when I wasn't assigned there. Sometimes Daniel brought me coffee and said, "You work too much." I smiled, but deep down, I liked the way he cared. One evening, as rain tapped against the window, Daniel told me his story. His wife had passed away 2 years ago. Since then, Leo was all he had left. He worked long hours, barely slept, just to give his son a good life. As he spoke, his voice cracked, and I felt tears in my eyes. I wanted to comfort him, but I reminded myself he was my patient's father, not someone I could fall for. Yet my heart didn't listen. Every time he smiled, it became harder to hide my feelings. When Leo was moved out of intensive care, everyone cheered. Daniel brought a small cake for the nurses. He said, "Clara saved my son." I blushed, but it felt strange hearing those words. That night, when the others left, Daniel stayed behind. He said softly, "I don't know what I'd have done without you." For a moment, the world felt quiet. We just stood there, eyes locked. But before I could reply, a nurse called my name. The moment broke like glass. Still, something unspoken remained. After Leo was discharged, the hospital felt empty. I missed his laughter, and I missed Daniel's quiet presence. One afternoon, I found a small note on my desk. It said, "Thank you, Clara, for everything." There was a phone number at the bottom. My hands trembled. I didn't call right away. I told myself it wasn't right. But nights felt lonelier, and his face appeared in my dreams. After a week, I finally sent a short message. "How is Leo?" His reply came instantly. "Better. We both miss you." From that day, our conversations grew. We talked about life, books, even childhood memories. Daniel told me Leo still asked when I'd visit. I said maybe soon, but my heart already wanted to go. When I finally visited, Leo ran and hugged me. Daniel smiled and said, "He never forgot you." We had lunch together, and everything felt warm, like family. I told myself it was harmless, but deep down, I knew I was crossing a line. I was no longer just Leo's nurse. I was part of their life. Weeks turned into months. Daniel invited me to Leo's school event. I sat in the audience, clapping proudly as Leo sang on stage. When he waved at me, I felt tears. Daniel whispered, "He sees you as family now." My heart swelled, but I stayed quiet. After the show, Daniel took me to a small cafe. He said, "Clara, you've brought peace to our home." His words filled me with warmth, but also fear, because peace was fragile, and love wasn't supposed to grow in such silence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I knew my feelings were no longer hidden. Every time Daniel looked at me, my heart raced. I asked myself, what am I doing? But love doesn't wait for permission. A few days later, Leo got sick again with a fever. Daniel called me in panic. I rushed to their home. The moment I saw Leo lying weakly in bed, everything else disappeared. I took care of him for 2 nights, staying awake, watching him breathe. Daniel never left my side. When Leo finally got better, Daniel made tea for both of us. The house was quiet, except for the soft ticking clock. He said, "I owe you everything." I smiled weakly. "You don't owe me anything," I said, but he shook his head. "You gave me my son, and maybe you gave me something else too." My heart stopped. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he whispered, "Clara, I think I've fallen for you." The world froze. I wanted to cry, but not from sadness, from fear of what love could cost. I didn't answer him that night. I just stood and left. The next morning, I avoided his calls. I knew if I let my heart decide, I'd lose myself. I was a nurse. I had rules, limits, and a career I'd worked so hard for. But my heart felt heavy. When I saw Leo's drawing later, it showed 3 stick figures, him, his father, and me. It broke me. I realized that love had already found its way into their home, even without words. Still, I decided to step back. I requested a transfer to another hospital. It wasn't easy, but I thought it was right. On my last day, Daniel and Leo came to say goodbye. Leo hugged me tightly and said, "Will you come back?" I couldn't answer. Daniel looked at me, eyes full of questions. "Why are you running?" he asked. I whispered, "Because I'm scared." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll wait," he said. I turned and walked away before tears could fall. The rain outside felt like the sky was crying with me. Months passed. I tried to forget, but I couldn't. Every time I heard a child laugh, I thought of Leo. Every time it rained, I saw Daniel's face. I buried myself in work, but nothing healed the ache. One evening, a nurse handed me a letter. It was from Leo. In his messy handwriting, he wrote, "I miss you, Nurse Clara. Daddy misses you too." Tears blurred my eyes. I read it again and again. Some love stories don't need promises. They just stay quietly inside us. Years later, I met them again by chance at a charity event. Leo was taller, smiling brightly. Daniel looked older, calmer. We talked like old friends. There was warmth, but no rush. When Leo went to play, Daniel said softly, "I kept my promise. I waited, but maybe life chose another way." I smiled sadly. "Maybe love doesn't always mean staying," I said. He nodded, and we both knew it was goodbye, but also peace. Some hearts meet to heal, not to stay forever. That night, I walked home under the streetlights. The wind was cold, but my heart was calm. I thought about the boy who smiled again, and the man who found strength through love. Maybe that was my real purpose, not to fall in love, but to bring hope where it was lost. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you." Love didn't end the way stories do, but it taught me everything about kindness, courage, and the beauty of letting go. And that was enough for me. Thank you for watching Glorious English. If this story touched your heart and helped you learn something new in English, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that teach you real-life English.